Ladies and gentlemen, today I am going to talk about the important international organizations and treaties of the 20th century that have made a significant development in the field of international law. To know more about the history of international law, please watch my previous episodes. In the last episode, I discussed the history of international law till the year 1948. And in the present episode, I will move forward and discuss the further developments in the field of international law. I will be discussing 12 organizations and treaties in chronological order. Now, before moving forward, I just want to make a small request that please do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It would help me immensely. The first organization that I want to talk about is the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs. It is also called as UNUSA. It is an office of the UN Secretariat that promotes and facilitates peaceful international cooperation in outer space among different countries. This office is part of the United Nations, and as you know, United Nations was established in the year 1945. 13 years later, UN authorities established this Outer Space Affairs Office. And if aliens actually visit the Earth, this will be the competent organization to deal with the same. This Outer Space Affairs Office reflects the visionary approach of United Nations. The second organization that I want to talk about is the Latin American Free Trade Association. It was established in the year 1960 by the Treaty of Montevideo. This treaty provided for new foreign investment rules and restrictions on operations of foreign firms in Latin American countries. And this organization was later transformed into Latin American Integration Association. Currently, it has 13 member states. The third organization that I want to talk about is the ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It was established in the year 1967, and it was established initially as a security association, since law and order at that point of time when this organization was established was not so good in Southeast Asia, and it was beset with conflicts. But currently, it is a political and economic union of 10 member states, including Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, and Singapore. I am not going into the details of these organizations since it would be irrelevant for the purposes of the present show. The fourth important development that I want to talk about is the signing of the Outer Space Treaty. This treaty is also called as the Treaty on Principles Governing the Activities of States in the Exploration and Use of Outer Space, including the Moon and other celestial bodies. Such a long name. So let us just call it as Outer Space Treaty. It was signed in the year 1967, and currently there are 113 parties to this convention. And this treaty is quite important as it includes provisions relating to prohibition of nuclear weapons in space. It also talks about limiting the use of moon and all other celestial bodies to peaceful purposes. These celestial bodies cannot be used for military purposes by virtue of Outer Space Treaty. This treaty also establishes that space shall be freely explored and used by all the nations. Thus, no particular state will have any special right over the usage of outer space. Further, no country can claim sovereignty over outer space or any celestial body by virtue of this treaty. The fifth important development I want to talk about is the adoption of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties. In common parlance, it is also called as VCLT. This treaty was adopted in the year 1969, and VCLT introduced the concept of jus cogens in international law. Before VCLT, this concept of jus cogens, which is very important in the field of international law, was absent. Jus cogens simply means a non-derogable obligation in international law, something that cannot be violated, even if something is not mentioned in any international law, but still if it is jus cogens, then it cannot be violated by any other country. We'll be discussing about jus cogens in our future episodes, and that is why VCLT is considered as one of the most important treaties in international law. It helps in interpretation of all the other treaties. Currently, there are 116 parties to VCLT. The sixth important development in the field of international law is the Stockholm Conference. It is also called as United Nations Conference on the Human Environment. It took place at Stockholm, Sweden in the year 1972, and the salient feature of this conference was that it established United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. Around 122 countries attended this conference, and its success lies in the fact that in the year 1972, environmental governance was not seen as an international priority, and countries, they did not pay much heed to environmental obligations, and still it was able to bring on board more than 100 countries. The seventh development in this regard is the Moon Treaty, or the agreement governing the activities of states on the moon and other celestial bodies. All these space related treaties have such a long name, that is why their names are shortened. Outer Space Treaty, and now this treaty is called as the Moon Treaty. It was signed in the year 1979, and currently it has 18 states as parties to this treaty. The main objective of the Moon Treaty is to provide necessary legal principles for governing the behavior of states, organizations, and individuals who explore celestial bodies. This Moon Treaty also provides for administration of resources that the exploration of moon or any other celestial body like any asteroid may yield. So all the resources that are present in the space, they are considered as common heritage of all mankind by virtue of the Moon Treaty and the Outer Space Treaty. The eighth development that I want to talk about is the establishment of SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, and as many of you might be knowing that it is a regional intergovernmental organization and a geopolitical union of states in South Asia. The main aim of this organization is to accelerate the process of economic and social development within its member states through increased regional cooperation. Its member states are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. The next organization in this regard is called as Mercosur. It was established in the year 1991. It is a South American trade bloc that was established by the Treaty of Ascension. Mercosur's purpose is to promote free trade and fluid movement of goods, people, as well as currency. Its member states are Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. Now, few years later, a very significant organization took birth. That is the World Trade Organization, WTO. It took birth in the year 1995 through the Marrakesh Agreement, and it replaced the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade of 1948. WTO is an intergovernmental organization that regulates and facilitates international trade, and its novel feature is that all the laws that are passed under WTO are binding in nature. It is unlike United Nations, which is sometimes also referred to as a toothless organization because it does not have the power to implement its laws. Whereas on the other hand, WTO has all the powers of enforcement and implementation of its laws. And if any country fails to follow its laws, then it has the power to enforce sanctions and impose sanctions on that country. Currently, it has 164 member states. The second last organization that I want to talk about is the Shanghai Five, that was formed in the year 1996 and it later on succeeded as Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It is a political, economic and security organization with its member states as China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. The last important development that I want to talk about is the establishment of International Criminal Court in the year 1998 by virtue of the Rome Statute. It was adopted by 120 states on 17th of July 1998 during the United Nations Diplomatic Conference of Plenipotentiaries on the establishment of an international criminal court, and this international criminal court came into force on 1st of July 2002. So these were the 12 important developments that have shaped the modern international law, and these developments took place after the year 1950. So I hope you found all this information to be useful. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to let me know, and do not forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. See you next time.